Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are chapter 9. Today we are going to do verse 2. And in the last week, Krishna Bhagavan said in verse 1 to Arjun, to you who do not cavil, me doesn't find faults, I shall now declare this. This means that Brahma Vidya, the greatest secret, he called it, the most profound knowledge, he said, combined with experience, means realization, which having known you shall be free from the sorrow of life. So these two verses are like almost like advertisement, heavy duty advertisement for Brahma Vidya. After hearing this, I want to be free of sorrow too. So that's why I want to know this. So we discussed all that in detail, what it meant. And today, that continues. He's glorifying this and trying to, through the glorification, we are also trying to understand what Brahma Vidya is and what it's not. And he already said what it can do for us, that that you will be free from sorrows of life, all sorrows of life, no matter what they are, because everybody has different sorrows. So with that, let's go to verse number 2. Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam Pavitramidamuttamam Pratyakshavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam. So Raja Vidya, this is where the Raja Yoga also the word came. The king of sciences. And we'll see why he said king of sciences. It means highest. And Raj Guhyam. Guhyam is secret. And it is, secretive knowledge. Raj Guhyam is very profoundly secret. And we'll see why. Pavitram, everybody knows, pure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Pavitram and so purifier. Idam is this. This means this knowledge he's talking about. Uttamam. We know the word uttam in Hindi, the best. So it's the best is highest. Pratyaksha avagamam. This is very important. Realized by direct intuitional knowledge. Because you have to transcend everything, and we will see what he meant by this pratyaksh. Means you know it so well that nothing can shake you anymore after that. Dharma, according to righteousness. Dharma we know, and here the meaning is much more deeper than just the ordinary word that, Hindu dharma or Bodh dharma, not that kind of dharma, but, we'll try to see what he meant by dharma. Susukham, we already know the word sukha, like aram, happiness, that kind of thing. Sukh se raho, aise bolte na. Sukhi raho means very easy. Kartum is to perform. Very easy to perform. Avyayam, we have come across this word few times now, and in chapter 2, Krishna Bhagavan already introduced this word, imperishable. Once you get this, knowledge is forever, that kind of stuff. So we'll see more details now what it meant. And different Swamis have slightly maybe having different interpretation, but all of them are very valid to this. So here, Krishna Bhagavan is talking about, he's advertising or he's doing the mahima of this knowledge. So he says it's Raj Vidya. So now the word royal, हम लोग ordinary language में भी बहुत use करते हैं, ये word royal जैसे, raja जैसे. Means, actually it means highest, but even in the worldly sense we use, this is like a royal food, best of the best. Or like we have the king size bed, the biggest one possible. See how we use this? So this just take in the same sense. highest, the best. किसी को कोई best चाहिए तो एकदम royal treatment मिला मुझे आज, the best. So everybody understood what that meant. And then, how Nikhilanandji explained this was very nice also. He said that why Bhagwan called it the highest or the best knowledge. Because we all know that there's so many different kind of knowledges in the world, worldly knowledge, of like the science dekh. There is no limit to learning things in the world. Okay, there's so many branches, fields, and specializations, and now the specialization has gone like to the limits. कि कोई डॉक्टर भी होता है ना, तो जैसे पहले ऑर्थोपेडिक सर्जन होता था, अभी वो एक एक पार्ट का होता है. Like when I broke my hand, they said कि lower part of the hand this guy specializes. Go to him. उसको भी divide कर दिया उन लोगों ने. But in a way it's good because the guy was such an expert. He did such a great job because day in and day out that's what he does. But anyway, what Nikhilanandji was trying to point to, there is no limit to learning in the world. And he was just saying, giving an example, that sometimes some of these scientists, they want to study the behavior of a particular animal, say. उसी में अपनी पूरी जिंदगी बिता देंगे वो लोग, all these shows and all are there, they will go in the jungles, wait for days for this animal to move a little bit. And he's saying he doesn't move the animal, and when he's changing his lens, तब वो animal move करेगा. So he lost all that, 1 week. Anyway, he was just joking. So the point he was trying to make is that people spend years about it. And even, he was saying that how people look at stars, जो astronomy वगैरह के लोग हैं, वो वही देखते रहते हैं, और फिर सालों तक कोई एक स्टार को देखते देखते फिर उसमें पता चलता है उसमें planet भी है. ऐसे वो बोल रहे थे, so which makes you think, So lots of knowledge is there out there, but what is the best ultimate knowledge? So what he was saying, that जो worldly knowledge होता है ना, that we try to gain to give us some joy or make our life easy, make more comfortable. That's the purpose of it. Or it helps us to interact with the world in a better way. That's the purpose of all these worldly knowledge. So he's saying that all that is very good. But he was saying that from, Krishna Bhagwan's perspective, everything is incomplete because they lack one important factor in all those knowledges that we are talking about, worldly knowledge. They lack the knowledge of the self. So, they lack the knowledge of who is gaining the knowledge. Who is that person who is gaining the knowledge, So I know about the whole world, great, but I don't know myself. I don't know who I am, That's what he was. It's a very interesting question. So I may know about atom, planet, star, plants, animal, but I don't know who I am. So that's why it's incomplete. And then he's saying that most of the time we have some kind of a crazy assumption about ourselves. If somebody didn't tell us, or the master didn't tell us, or we didn't study in the Shastras, we might start thinking we are the body, So that's why this knowledge about the world also is incomplete according to him. Because the way he was explaining that without knowing who I am, whatever I know is just my interpretation, It kind of lacks something very fundamental. And then he was saying that it is not like whatever knowledge we gain in the world is all wrong. That's not what he was trying to say. It is correct, those knowledge and the science and all is all correct, just calling it incomplete. And what this Raja Vidya does is, or Atma Vidya, it makes you understand who you are. And so when he was saying that self, knowledge of the self, very interesting thing is that this knowledge of the self also includes the knowledge of the world and God. That's the beauty of it. So it's like the other way around. When you learn about the knowledge of the world, it doesn't include the other two things so much. But here it is, if you learn about self, you will also learn about the world. You'll also learn about God. But it's not saying that don't study the science and all that. It's saying in addition, you should study this also. That's how you have to look at it. And then he was saying that when we talk about, hey, knowledge, who am I and all that, they're not talking about our ego. Okay? Because I don't know who I am, I might think they're talking about my ego, or it doesn't mean that my personality, even though the self-knowledge, when you study, it will talk about the personality also, but that's not the ultimate of what we're trying to learn, or something about body and mind only, or how it functions, or about the psychology. No. The fundamentals of who am I is self-knowledge is that consciousness. That's what he was trying to get at. So that's why it's called the knowledge of the Supreme Self. And whatever we have understood so far, what is the Supreme Self is the witness of our waking, dream, and deep sleep. And that remains unchanged in all the different phenomena of life. That's the knowledge he's talking about. So he was saying, so why, without knowing ourselves, all knowledge is incomplete? So he gave the example of the rope and the snake, which everybody knows in this class now, whoever is attending for a while. Okay, now go back to that example, that suppose you know everything about the snake. And don't go in too much into that, it's an illusion, fine. But suppose you know everything. But you don't know snake aaya kyun? Because rope ki wajah se aaya, and you don't know anything about the rope. So an incomplete ho gaya ki nahi, the knowledge. वो स्नेक में अटक के रह जाएगा, उसको ये नहीं मालूम कि भाई वो कॉज ऑफ द स्नेक क्या है. दैट्स हाउ यू हैव टू लुक एट इट. रेफरेंस पॉइंट नहीं है हमारा, और रेफरेंस पॉइंट बहुत ज़रूरी होता है कोई भी चीज़ समझने के लिए. सो अगर हमको ये नहीं मालूम होगा कि हु आई एम एंड व्हाट इज़ द सबस्ट्रेटम, व्हाट इज़ ऑल दैट, देन वी माइट जस्ट थिंक द रेफरेंस पॉइंट इज़ माई ईगो. That's my reference point, and that will be all messed up relationship with the world. So that's what is a very important thing. And suppose if we know the correct reference point, then everything becomes clear. That's when the Vivek Buddhi Jagrit ho jayegi fir, like that. And then he gave another very, very good example that of a circle. That circle mein na wo center point sabse zyada important hota hai. If you know the center point, you can handle the whole circle. You know the circumference, because the distances from the center is all same. There could be millions of points everywhere, but center pata chal gaya, sab kuch pata chal gaya. That's what he said, this Raj Vidya. He gave such a brilliant example, that the Raj Vidya is like knowing your center. That's what it is. So, and he's saying that in another Upanishad, not Mandukya, but there is one Upanishad called Mundaka Upanishad. It seems that in that, I have not studied it, so I don't know the details, that the disciple approaches the teacher and asks, give me that knowledge, knowing which everything becomes known. That's the question of this student to a teacher. And when he asks like that, so the teacher he reveals the self-knowledge to him. So that's why it's the Raja Vidya, knowing which you will know everything else. So it means you will know the fundamentals of everything. And then, so this is what Raj Vidya ke baare mein unhone bola, Nikhilanand ji ne. Raj Guhyam, secret. Why was it called a secret? So he's saying that even though this is the most fascinating, beautiful, highest knowledge, king of all, but it's also, it's most secret. In what sense? That he's saying that it's such a great secret that the whole life can go by and you won't know what it is without knowing a glimpse of it. And Swamiji, is going to explain this secret, why it is called secret, in another angle, which is also very good, similar one. So he's saying that only by the blessing of master, teachers, scriptures, the thought might come to us that, hey, I want to know what it is, and I want to realize it, and then you will make that effort and you will realize it. ऐसे ही नहीं पता चलेगा कि क्या है. He's saying otherwise there are millions of people who are born in the world, they die without even thinking about it, without knowing about it or existence of such a phenomena. So that's what he was saying. So he's saying that sometimes, us also, we may appreciate other people, the realized masters, for example, Buddha, we might go and do namaskar and all that, and we look up to them and all that, but we may not have a desire to become like them, or we may think that it's not possible for us, right? But ठीक है, आप वहाँ रहो, मैं यहाँ, मैं आपको प्रणाम करूँगा, लेकिन बस वही ठीक है. We may not make that effort. So that's why, from that perspective, also secretive. So And another angle about a secret about myself, that it's like a mystery, right? Who am I? If I don't study the Shastras and all, it sounds like a complete mystery, and the confusion is there, and it is very mysterious. The self is a very mysterious thing, because there is nobody who can point out the object, this is the self. You can't do that. So that's why it is mysterious. And then another very interesting thing he said about this knowledge is that once I realize this, I become one with it. And we have discussed that in other knowledge. It's not like that. The knowledge is separate, I am separate, but here it's a totally different thing. So he was just saying a few things that you might have heard about, that the scriptures call it neti neti. This it is not, this is it is, because it cannot point what it is. It starts by saying what it is not. It gives you some indication which direction to go to. But he was just saying that how even the Shastras or the masters, they fail to say what exactly it is. But obviously then they try. That's why they say Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, right? Trying. So because words are incomplete to express it. That's the problem. That's why it's called the secret knowledge. And because words are, they are related to the worldly things. Worldly things you can explain. But even the worldly things, if you really think about it, कोई एक चीज किसी को दिखाओ और बोलो कि इस पे ऐसे लिखो तुम. It can be anything, a flower. अभी हम लोग यहाँ 20 लोग बैठे हैं, 15 लोग, वो सभी अलग अलग लिखेंगे, उसको एक्सप्रेस करेंगे, है कि नहीं? So even worldly thing, maybe when you want to describe, it's very subjective. So that's why it is so secret, because it's just not a very solid thing, that, hey, this is it. It's kind of secretive. So those were the points, by Nikhilanandji. And then we'll see when we go to Chinmayanandji that he has his own points about, what is it, Guhyam ka word. So next उन्होंने बोला pavitram, purifier, and we all know कि ये कोई चीज पवित्र है, what it means. And he said pavitram idam uttamam, he said. So पवित्र के बारे में हम लोग सोचते हैं क्या है? Greatest. Pavitram means greatest. कि हम लोग बोलते हैं ये इससे गंगा में नहाने से आदमी पवित्र हो जाता है, या ये करने से ये तो हाईएस्ट पवित्र. इसको कर लिया तो फिर कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं. Imagine, okay? क्यों बोला ऐसा? So then he was reminding us that we may have completely forgotten, but Nikhilanandji reminded, and in chapter 4 also, Bhagwan, एक verse है जिसमें उन्होंने बोला, I don't know the number of the verse, but we can go back and see that there is nothing more purifying than self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is the highest purifier. He already declared that. And now Nikhilanandji is analyzing why. Because he's saying that जो बाकी चीजें होती है ना प्योरीफाई करने वाली, कि भाई जैसे हम लोग बाथ लेते हैं, राइट, सुबह, तो हमारा शरीर पवित्र हो जाता है, टेम्पररी होता है, नेक्स्ट डे फिर प्रॉब्लम. That's why we have to take bath every day. So जो वर्ल्डली चीज़ें होती हैं प्योरीफाई करने वाली, वो बॉडी को प्योरीफाई कर लेंगी, माइंड को कर लेंगी, ईगो को कर लेंगी, लेकिन द वन हु कमिट्स द सिन, उसको नहीं वो खत्म करती है. द ईगो स्टिल रिमेन्स. It's something like I had some bad thoughts, so I did some puja, I did some, this thing, and then for a temporarily, my mind became pure. फिर 10 दिन के बाद फिर बुरा विचार आया. See what I'm saying? So the sinner continues to exist, and the sinner continues to commit sin. So that's what he was talking about. So this is you have to do this contemplation, why the self-knowledge is called the highest purifier. So he's saying that this chakkar in the world continues because our ego doesn't get dissolved. So that's why he called it the sinner continues. कभी वो थोड़ा better हो जाता है, कभी ये हो जाता है, वो continue करता है. So one example that you may have heard of that he gave, which applies here also, it applies different places, that if suppose somebody is in jail, right? So his life is kind of miserable, and then you try to make his life comfortable in the jail. उसको खाना अच्छा दे दो भाई, कि उसके रहने की जगह थोड़ी बेटर हो, उसको बुक्स दे दो, तो वो उसका समय अच्छा कटेगा. लेकिन that is just okay. But imagine कोई जाके उसको चाबी दे दे. Hey, now you get out of jail and you're free. Imagine the difference. So that's what these worldly purifier things do. They're a temporary fix, band-aid type of fix. So yagya, yag, puja, vagara, doing all this, they can, purify some negativities in our life, but the sinner continues to remain. And ego continues to exist. But the self-knowledge, the sinner is dissolved. Ego is dissolved. So I think he brought such a very, very important point. उसकी जड़ से problem खत्म कर दी. तो कभी वो उठेगा ही नहीं sin करने के लिए. That's what this does. That's why it's called the highest purifier. And then he was just saying that how when the ego dissolves, the real self shines through. जैसे कि कोई sun को cover कर दिया ये clouds ने. So now the clouds are gone, sun is shining. That's what this greatest purifier is. And then he also said that how when the ego gets dissolved, I come to recognize myself, who really I am. Because he was just saying that how ego is the one which creates all the mischief in the world. Okay? So, जो भी हम लोग करते हैं ना purify करने के लिए, वो खाली ego को खुश करने के लिए करते हैं. We don't think it that way. So that's why it is important to dissolve that ego. Okay, so this is... So now some people might think that, that this royal is the best purifier, so it must be so difficult to do, right? That's the first thing. हम लोग ऐसा बोलते भी है ना, आत्मविद्या is very, very difficult. अगर होती तो सभी के पास मिल जाती. तो Krishna Bhagwan, immediately says over here that, Pratyaksha avagamam means it can be experienced directly and it's not just a theory. Because otherwise you might think, oh my God, I'll never get it. So difficult. And then what he was saying, that when Bhagwan reveals our nature as pure consciousness, or what is that pure consciousness? As witness of the whole world, as substratum of this cosmos, or existing in all beings, or the factor that appears as this whole world, and one can experience it directly. So this is what this thing is, and that's why it can be experienced directly, because all these things are included in it. Okay, and what he was saying, that with these great Mahatmas, when they experience this self within themselves, and they feel the oneness with the whole world, nobody can confuse them afterwards. That's why it's called Pratyaksha Avagamam. Once you have this experience yourself, कोई तुम्हें बुद्धू नहीं बना सकता, कोई तुम्हारा उसको shake नहीं कर सकता तुम्हारे mind को. And then there is a word in Shastras, Hastamalikam, ki it is like a fruit in your hand, palm of your hand. Somebody puts a fruit in your palm of your hand. It's so obvious. I know what it is. So I know it is kind of they have a hard time explaining that what do they mean by Pratyaksha Avagamam, that direct experience of it. As clear as somebody putting a fruit in your hand, you cannot deny it that they did that. That's what it means. Okay? And then another reason he said why it is Pratyaksha. This is a little bit difficult point, but I'll try to explain the best way I can. Because he said that it is beyond the mind and intellect. It's an intuitive knowledge. Remember, that's what Swamiji also mentioned. Why it becomes Pratyaksha? Because you have to transcend the mind and intellect. Because mind and intellect can be defective in certain ways. It's like using a medium to know something. It will get colored by your own emotions, colored by your own things, It's like seeing the world as it is rather than colored glasses. That's how you have to look at it. So it's saying that knowledge can get compromised if we go through this, But direct knowledge, that's why he said Pratyaksha Avagamam, that you know yourself by yourself. It's defectless. No medium is involved. So it is not opinion of some person or anything like that. That's not how this knowledge, it's a fact. It's a truth. That's why it's called the ultimate truth, Satyam, So all this realized masters, they experience it the same. Okay, this is very important to know. They experience exactly because the truth is one factor. But when they come and explain it to us, again, there is a difference in there. Because the moment they have to use your mind and intellect to do it, again, it appears different. So it is so kind of complicated, okay? Nobody can explain it just one way. And we know that so many different swamis, everybody has explaining it, and everybody looks great because they are trying to point to the same thing. So that's why the expression of it is so difficult. And you must have heard of this saying in the Shastras, ekam satya vipra bahuda vadanti. I don't know if you have heard it. That means satya ek hi hai, vipra means wise people. Bahuda vadanti, they speak it in a different way. That's where it's coming from. Okay. So I already talked about that expression is different. Okay. And then how do we get this? We get it through meditation. Because in meditation we transcend our mind and intellect. So method, उन्होंने याद दिलाया कि प्रत्यक्ष अवगमम. So what does it mean by pratyaksha avagamam? I have to experience it myself, and the meditation is one of the methods. And then the next word Krishna Bhagavan uses is to advertise this or to explain or the mahima of it. It is dharmyam. Dharmyam means even if you see ordinary meaning, Swamiji is going to go into much deeper meaning. That it is, adhar of everything. That's why it is like dharma. We have talked about that. Dharma is like that. Sugar ka dharma is sweetness. Salt ka dharma is saltiness. Jo cheez mera adhar hai, wo mera dharma hai. Like that. Okay. But that we will go. But Nikhilanandji gave another angle which was very interesting. He's saying that it is the most righteous thing to do. Why? Because how in the world people will start saying, hey, why somebody has to know themselves? Hey, why don't you go and help some poor people? Why don't you make some hospitals? Why don't you feed the poor? Some people get all this logic that why you're wasting your time, sitting in meditation or trying to study the Shastras and all that. Hey, you should help the world because that's the right thing to do and all that. So what Krishna Bhagavan is saying, no. Knowing yourself is the highest dharma. Okay? That's what he's saying. That doesn't mean don't do all these things. So don't take it wrong. Okay? You can definitely do this, all the other thing I'm talking about. But why this one is the highest dharma? He's saying that if you follow the path and get this for yourself, first you realize who you are and then you realize the oneness with the world, then you will become the biggest asset to the world. You will do so much work for the world कि वो दूसरा सोच भी नहीं पाएगा. That's why you see all these great Mahatmas and all, how much they do. So he's saying that whatever you will do after that, it will become a blessing for the world. That's what it is. And so he gave an example of Gautam Buddha, and we all know the story that बचपन में उसको किसी महात्मा ने बोला था उसके फादर को, इस बच्चे को देख के जो महात्मा बुद्ध थे कि भाई या तो ये बहुत बड़ा राजा बनेगा या ये सन्यासी बनेगा. He will, and the king was so scared कि ये सन्यासी नहीं बना because king को कोई idea नहीं था कि वो सन्यासी मतलब self realized master बने. He did not know that. So how much he tried to make him the king constantly. तो समझो अगर वो राजा बन जाता तो बोले क्या कर लेता, राजा बन जाता, एक राज्य संभाल लेता और अपने फैमिली को संभाल लेता and all that. लेकिन अभी वो पूरी दुनिया को उसने किया और अभी तक चल रहा है उसका. Like 2500 years ago he came, and until today people are getting inspired and getting self-realized because of him. So imagine the impact. He was saying that it kind of transcends the time, geography, everything, passage of time. Because his enlightenment is continuing to bless the world even today. So that was a very interesting point. That's why it is the highest dharma, okay? So that's what it is. So, in nutshell, the greatest dharma is to follow the path of enlightenment to experience one's own self. Okay? So now भगवान ने इतनी बातें बोल दी तो उनको लगता है कि भाई गॉड ये तो बहुत मुश्किल होएगा करना, यू नो. सो पहले भगवान ने बोला था प्रत्यक्ष अवगमम, राइट? और अब भगवान ने एक और वर्ड वहां पर डाल दिया, सुसुखम. एक होता है सुखम और एक होता है सुसुखम, मीन्स extremely easy. तो कोई बोलेगा my God, why did he say that? So because we might think, oh my God, पूरा जिंदगी निकल जाएगी ये करने में. But what Nikhilanand ji was saying, that we only make our convictions. ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता, बहुत मुश्किल है. तो अगर ऐसा सोचने लगते हैं ना, somehow human psychology ऐसी होती है, जो हम सोचते हैं ना उसी में हमारा दिमाग चला जाता है. अगर कोई सोचता है कि ईजी है तो वो ईजी बनता जाएगा उसके लिए, बिकॉज ही विल पुट दैट एफर्ट टुवर्ड्स दैट इन सच अ वे. एंड अगर कोई सोचेगा नहीं मैं तो कर ही नहीं सकता, तो वो कर ही नहीं पाएगा. बट इफ यू गो एंड इंटरव्यू ऑल दीज पीपल हु आर लाइक अचीव बिग 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 थिंग्स, वो लोग बताएंगे कि हाउ मच कन्विक्शन दे हैड दैट दे कैन डू इट. एंड देन दे आसान होता जाता है रास्ता. वो खुद भी एफर्ट डालते हैं, फिर द होल यूनिवर्स हेल्प्स देम, God graces them, everything happens, So he was just saying that if you start thinking that something is negative, वो negative ही होगा तुम्हारे साथ, So that's why you have to not think like that. And you have to have faith in Krishna's words. Okay. He was just saying about the children also. Sometimes with the children also, some people might have that, ये तो ये कर ही नहीं सकता है, फिर वो नहीं करेगा. ऊपर से सोचते आशीर्वाद देंगे हो, या अंदर से बोलेंगे नहीं ये नहीं कर सकता, फेल ही हो जाएगा, whatever, he was just saying worldly example. So he was just saying that how we live in this illusory world, so either we can try to make the illusion correct, but the best thing is to transcend the illusion, and let the illusion go at its own pace and you be peaceful, another state, So he was just saying that we have to accept Krishna Bhagwan's words first. That is the first step. And don't resist that, no, it is very difficult and all. If he's saying it's sukham, accept it. Okay, because he was just saying that हमारा जो ego है ना, वो मानने को तैयार नहीं होता. क्यों? Because ego को ना difficult चीजें बहुत अच्छी लगती है. जैसे कि अगर mountain climb करना है, तो बोले कि मैंने वो माउंट एवरेस्ट क्लाइंब किया और कोई नहीं कर सकता, तभी मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लगेगा. किसी को बोला अभी सभी कर रहे हैं, तो बोला no, this is no, I want to feel special, I want to feel nobody else can do it. That's why the problem, that we don't take that. But if we accept it is easy, then it will become sahaj. That's how we have to look at it. So now the last thing is avyayam. So he was just saying that how all these things are pratyaksha avagamam, dharmam, sukham. So then somebody might have a doubt, if I get it, will it go away from me? Like मेरे को बार-बार उसके लिए मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी क्या? होता है ना कि एक चीज मिल गई तो वो क्या मेरे साथ हमेशा रहेगी? नहीं तो I have to do this effort again. So भगवान ने फटाफट बोल दिया, it is avyayam, it is everlasting. He's saying that in this world nothing is everlasting. कितना भी तुम कुछ अचीव कर लो, कोई भी रिलेशनशिप, anything you say, eventually it goes away. It is a limited period. But nothing other than self-knowledge lasts, So it is exactly opposite. And he's saying that this particular self-knowledge that Krishna Bhagavan is talking about, this is our own nature. And that is everlasting. And we just have to try to recognize it. That's all. So he was just saying that in the world, we are all fascinated by action and the result of action. But here, Bhagavan is not talking about action. He's talking about knowledge. Intuitive knowledge, nothing to do with action. That's why they say karma se nahi mil sakta ye. Karma yoga can purify your mind so that you can understand, but karma yoga cannot lead you directly to the knowledge. That's what it is. So this knowledge is result of enlightenment. That's why it is avyayam. So this is the mahima he gave. So many different words made. Any question, comment? Anybody wants to add anything about Krishna Bhagwan's greatest advertisement for Brahma Vidya?
Nothing to add. I just, while you were saying, I was just thinking about purifying. The purifier doesn't have anything on it. That's the purity of it. Ekam, right? And that's what I said. That's the purifier. If anything on it is the second thing. And
True.
that's what you get fear. So it reminded me of the song Chunri Me Laga Da, right? That song really represents that I cannot come home to you because I am in that world.
Yeah.
Okay? And that means the secondness is there. There's manyness. So when that has to be with, that means I have to become purified. That oneness, and that oneness is the only thing when you realize it. There's only one.
ट्रू सो ट्रू बिकॉज अब जैसे कोई गोल्ड भी होता है उसमें इम्प्योरिटी होती है तो उसको इम्प्योर गोल्ड बोलते हैं राइट जब उसमें कुछ नहीं होता उसको प्योर गोल्ड बोलते हैं 24 कैरेट ट्रू so when there is no other absolutely so that's a very good way of looking at it yes
I mean that's what when you were saying that was writing down the points that I thought of.
No, very good point. Yes.
And how you realize, and that was, there's so many ways, and especially the bhakti yoga, which is normally they realize the same truth, but they realize it different way. So their expression to the followers would be different to what we are saying is the oneness. So that would be different. And there, you can express in so many ways, but that was one thing that I thought of, that we're doing.
Good.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, any volunteers to read this?
Okay. No.
It was a beautiful, beautiful explanation today. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you, Kamalaji. I'm glad you came. Okay. Sushilji, would you like to read? You haven't read for a while. Sushilji is hearing me?
Did you ask me?
Yeah. Would you like to read?
I have the workbook, but I'll repeat it.
Okay.
Royal science, royal secret, the supreme purifier is this: realizable by direct intuitive knowledge, according to the Dharma, very easy to perform, imperishable. Vedanta is no religion in the ordinary concept of the term, which implies the formalistic observance of some physical and mental discipline in some house of God during a specific day of the week for a prescribed length of time. If we consider religion as an art of right action, then Vedanta is indeed the noblest of religions because it provides a scientific explanation for the entire way of right living. Krishna here glorifies it. This is the royal science, the royal mystery, pure and very high.
So here, Swamiji is referring to that we might, keep a Sunday for yoga, or we have this class and we say, okay, we are studying Bhagavad Gita and all that, and we are very religious. But Vedanta is saying that spirituality is 24/7. We have discussed that, right? That it's not like a 1 hour thing out of the, and rest of time you do what you want. No. Yeah, well, that 1 hour we reflect, we contemplate and all, and then we try to practice it. It's an art of right action. And that's what is going to make changes, transformation. Otherwise, it's not going to transform, yeah.
Even if there be a science, royal in its import, deep in its profundity, and supreme in its purifying effect.
Okay, wait. I think that it is totally different, right? Most of have the other book. So maybe Meenaji can read, yeah, because I don't know where it is, this one. Yours says the term royal science?
Yeah, the royal secret.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Sushilji. Go ahead, Meenaji.
The term royal secret, Rajguhyam, has been too literally understood and insisted upon by the unimaginative Pandits, and the effect of their preaching has brought about, to a large extent, the shattering of our culture, at once distressing and sad. The term secret here is to be understood as profound. Though Newton's law of motion faithfully worked out around every living creature and inert things of the world, to a child or to an ignorant villager, it is a excuse me, it is a secret, inasmuch as it is too profound for their lay understanding.
Read one more paragraph and then we'll go to the meaning.
Similarly, here, the science of self-development and the theories of Vedanta are too profound for the uninitiated that it may be considered as a secret. It is to be unraveled to everyone, which is the duty of the custodians of our scriptural knowledge, traditionally called as the Brahmins. Even today, all true Brahmins perform this function.
So, Swamiji was the reason I think he was saying, firstly, let's understand, we've discussed this, that when he says the secret means it's not like, shh, don't tell anybody, not that kind of secret they're talking about. They're talking about it is profound. It remains as a secret because it's so difficult to understand. I don't even want to say difficult because Krishna Bhagavan already said Susukham and Pratyaksha Bhagavam. But you know what I mean. And then he gave a beautiful example that it's like koi bolega ki, theory, kya bolte hain, law of motion of Newton's is not there. But whether somebody says there, it is there. And Swamiji used to एक joke करते थे, बोलते थे कि वो इसको क्या बोलते हैं, ग्रेविटी जो होती है ना, कि law of gravity. So suppose somebody says, oh, I don't believe in law of gravity. So you say, okay, you don't believe in law of gravity. Just go near the window and put your one leg out and then somebody will push you a little bit. You will know what is law of gravity. So, that's what it is. So, and then he was saying that some of the Pandits, they take this word Raj Guhyam to in such a extent कि किसी को बताओ मत जी, समझेंगे नहीं ये लोग, ये वो. That's wrong, because it is a Brahman's job to explain it in such a way that they understand. That's how Swamiji started this Bal Vihar and all that. Hey, from kindergarten itself, it doesn't mean that you start preaching Geeta to some 5-year-old. That's not what he's saying. Slowly introduce them in such a way, the Vedanta, because Vedanta has so much value. That's exactly what he's doing, with all these commentaries of different Upanishads and all that. If all these Mahatmas didn't do, हम लोग को Upanishad के बारे में कुछ नहीं पता चलता. Because, it is a profound thing and we won't understand. If we just pick up and read the 12 mantras of Mandukya, after a while, you won't get anything out of it. If you just see translation, bhi dekh lo khali. But it is the Brahmana's job to introduce it to everybody in the correct manner so that they understand. That's all it is. It's just like an ignorant villager. If suddenly you start giving him all the formulas, he's not going to understand. But you make him sit down, explain to him slowly and make him educated, he will understand. That's how Swamiji is looking at it.
Even if there be a science, royal in its import, deep in its profundity, supreme in its purifying effects, unless it is available for our comprehension, it is almost useless. Here Krishna promises that it is clearly comprehensible, since it can be apprehended directly by an immediate experience of the self.
So we went in detail about that if something is so great and all that, but if I cannot experience it, then again it becomes useless. So he's saying, no, you can't do it. Obviously, you have to follow the path that Krishna Bhagavan is saying. Then only you will experience. It's like, okay, somebody came and told me that, Mountain Peak was so beautiful. I can sit there and imagine, but I have to go there myself. I have to train, I have to do all that. And then if I go, I can experience it myself too. The same way with Atma Gyan also. That, hey, it is a possibility of experience, but you have to put the effort the way Krishna Bhagavan is saying, and you can experience it yourself. That's what he's saying.
That's why, the Upanishad, we are doing Taittriya Upanishad, how they train the student first.
Exactly. They train them in the art of meditation first, yes.
Right. Also, it is a science pertaining to dharma. Dharma. The term dharma has already been explained. Man is nothing but a parcel of minerals in their gross and subtle states. If the conscious principle were not blessing, man is nothing but a parcel of minerals in their gross and subtle states. If the conscious principle were not blessing them, this awareness, called the self, is then the dharma of man, the principle of life in him. The spiritual science that the Lord of Vrindavan promises to enunciate in this chapter is neither the physical science of the objects of the world nor the science of psychology that explains the field of emotions and thoughts, but the science of the self, the deepest essence in each individual.
So here Swamiji took this dharmyam to the highest dharma, which is our essence, which is a consciousness, and we even a law of being, like he said, explained as a dharma is law of being. In my, I don't know, you didn't say that word, but मेरी book में है वो word, that the term dharma has already been explained as the law of being. I mean, जिसके बिना मेरा कोई अस्तित्व नहीं है. It's just like sweetness के बिना sugar का कोई अस्तित्व नहीं है. You know, that's how it. So the consciousness is the most fundamental dharma of everybody. That's why it is dharmyam. So he took it to the highest level of dharma.
Very easy to perform. Religion is a subjective technique to be pursued and accomplished by each in himself. If this great science into which Lord Krishna is proposing to initiate Arjuna is an extremely difficult proposition to live, then naturally it is a futile philosophy. The poverty of a country is not solved by the declaration of its scientists that there are inexhaustible quantities of unclaimed gold waiting for free transportation in the moon. In order to remove this vague fear, it has been fully confirmed that the technique of self-integration and the ultimate gaining of a complete mastery over oneself is an easy art to master for the sincere and the diligent.
So we saw that how अगर कोई चीज़ बोलो कि बहुत अच्छी है लेकिन तुमको मिल नहीं सकती तो फिर लोग बोलेंगे I don't care then. I don't want to know what it is. So that's what Krishna Bhagwan is saying. But remember the last sentence. He's saying to the sincere and diligent. You know. So ये नहीं कि भाई मेरे को मिल नहीं रही and I'm not doing any effort. You know, the people who keep saying, oh मैंने तो इतनी मेहनत की पर मुझे कुछ मिला ही नहीं. But if they go back and see, उनकी मेहनत में कुछ दम नहीं होगा शायद. Because it's a law of nature that if you work hard, you get good results, you know. So that's what he's trying to tell you, that for the sincere and the diligent, if you put in the proper effort in the right direction, you know, you can get it. It's not like, in the example he gave, you know, I want a lot of gold and it's sitting on the moon, and what good is it for me? I don't care, because, you know, I won't be able to get it from there anyway. So it's not like that.
Even if it be easy, no intelligent man will pursue the path if the gain acquired thereby is perishable and temporary. It is endorsed here that the gains acquired through a faithful pursuit of the royal science of self-development and self-mastery are of an imperishable nature. To realize the self is to become the self, the eternal, and the infinite reality behind the phenomenal world of appearances.
So this is what the very important one, that once you get it, it's forever, and it's because you merge with that infinity. That's why you also become infinite. So now, you know, we understand it theoretically, everything, but you saw that Krishna Bhagwan's advertisement was absolutely amazing. Now Arjuna is going to say, please tell me now what it is. I want this, you know. So he's getting him excited, you know.
Yeah, but he didn't put the word sincere and diligent. Effort also goes in there. You know?
And wo to, you know, like Krishna Bhagwan didn't have much time at the battlefield. So all the untold things between the lines that we have to know. And that's why we have all these Mahatmas. They don't forget that, you know, that it is sincere and diligent, because it's I've been meditating for years and nothing is happening, because we are actually not following the path then. Krishna Bhagwan ने क्या पूरा जो बताया, अगर कोई master कर लेना chapter 6 तो फिर उसको result भी मिलेगा, पर we lack in that complete sincerity, you know.
With that, it seems like, okay, if I do a little bit, maybe I'll get, but then it takes lifetimes. Lifetime or lifetimes. Again, it depends upon you, as you said, how sincere you are and how much
effort you're going to put in there. 100%
Yeah.
it is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then even if we get scared of the lifetimes and all that, but in the cosmic time, few lifetimes are also not much. Think about it. But our teacher she said, no, don't even say agla janam. Why do you have to say that? She would say, why are you putting that thought in your head? Yeah.
The beautiful thing is that whatever effort you put in, they are deposited in your bank balance. So you never lose the efforts which you are putting in there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yes, Krishna Bhagavan made that promise in chapter 6 that nothing goes waste. And you will start, whatever you do spiritually, suppose if you don't gain now, you will start at that point. Very quickly, all that thing will come to you. That's why you have these, some of the children they show that kind of spiritual bent at a very early age because they have done all the sadhanas already before. True.
What happens when we come to this age, this stage of life, we try to know everything. We keep reading the books after the books after the books and try to know everything. And what happens at the end of the day, we don't remember anything. So instead of that effort, if we start reading our inner book, if we put even a little bit of time going, interiorizing ourselves, then we can have more knowledge.
See, what it is, the books are the guides. So that's also important to know where it's like a GPS. You cannot 100% depend on GPS, but they are the guide. So what you're saying, Kamlaji, like sometimes we would also kind of discuss about that in our study group. Hey, how much should be doing and is it making any difference? I have done so much. But it's like a balance. So it's not khali padte raho, ye nahi. दोनों चालू रखना चाहिए.
Balance is the key.
Yeah, दोनों चालू रखना चाहिए so that I know. That's one thing. And secondly, our teacher used to say, all this subject is not of a memory. In a sense, कि मेरे को पूरा वो सब कुछ याद हो, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. It's some kind of inner transformation has to take place. And it's like, I eat food every day. I don't remember what I ate 10 days ago for lunch, or unless I eat the same thing, then I might remember. But you know what I'm saying? Or what thing I ate, a year ago or something, I don't remember. But that has given me nourishment, right? It has brought me to this point. So whatever we study, if you are doing it sincerely and diligently, 100% going to help. You may not remember all the nitty gritty, but something is, uska saar tumhare dimag mein hai kahin, So it's a very delicate balance that how much you should study, how much you should practice. Each one has to decide, for themselves what you have to do. So that's how I would say it.
Umaji, all these things, they change our nature slowly.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And that's the goal, that your dharma, your nature, when you totally change, you become a self-realized person, then...
Yeah, it's like... the way I would look at it, it's purifying your mind through this.
Yeah.
And in the end, when the mind becomes totally pure, it's like a total transparency, and then the self shines through and you experience it. That's how. So there's so many different ways to look at it, what they're talking about. Okay.
There's a paragraph. Do you want to read? This is for the next shloka.
Yeah, you can read that.
Go ahead, read. As a contrast to those who are seeking, the destiny of those who are not seeking the imperishable is declared to be the disturbed life of samsara.
So the same concept comes here, but in a more deeper way. That hey, if you ashraddhanam, he's going to talk about it. The people who don't have shraddha in what Krishna Bhagavan is saying, then you punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. You keep coming back and tossing in this world. If that's what you enjoy, then you don't need to worry about self-knowledge. If you enjoy again and again coming back and being kicked around, that's good for them. What can you do? So there are both kinds of people. Yeah. Any other question, comment? Anybody wants to add anything more? Okay, I'll close Bhagavad Gita here then. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhya mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.